But this leaves us with the decision that everyone thought we would end up having. Florida State or Alabama. One spot, whoever's 4 plays Michigan. Number 5, heartbroken. Who's number 4? And Alabama returns to the playoff, and so we have another unprecedented situation as Florida State winds up at number 5, and Florida State is the first undefeated champion from a Power 5 conference to fail to make the field in the college football playoff era.
In 2023, the Florida State Seminoles became a historic team, being the first undefeated Power 5 conference champ to miss out on the college football playoffs. This controversy stemmed from a season-ending injury to their starting quarterback, Jordan Travis. This decision, along with other big-ticket issues within college football, led to the conversation to expand the college football playoffs from 4 teams to 12. The 2024 season looked to be a revenge season for the Seminoles, with media predicting them to win the newly expanded ACC, find themselves back in the college football playoffs. However, those dreams of success turned into nightmares for Florida State, as they were the most disappointing team this season, putting up a record of 2-10. So what went wrong for them? How does a conference champion and one of the best teams in college football become one of the worst in just one season? After losing to Georgia in the Orange Bowl, Mike Norvell and the coaching staff had their work cut out for them trying to rebuild their team while losing a lot of their key players from the season prior. Some of these key losses included quarterback Jordan Travis, running back Trey Benson, receiver Keon Coleman, and tight end Jaheim Bell on offense, and defensively losing stars such as DN Jared Verse, safety Akeem Dent, and linebacker Kalen DeLoach. Looking at some of their portal pickups, the most notable include linebackers Marvin Jones Jr. and Sean Murphy, cornerback Charles Lester III, and most importantly, a new quarterback hoping to replace Jordan Travis, 5th-year DJ Uwangalele. The former 5-star quarterback spent his first 3 years of his career at Clemson, where he had a lackluster time throwing for 4,884 yards, 36 touchdowns, and 17 interceptions, winning only 1 ACC title at the time. He then transferred to Oregon State for his senior season, looking to revitalize his career. And in his senior season, DJ led the Beavers to an 8-4 season, passing for 2,638 yards with 21 touchdowns and only 7 interceptions. And for his final season, the 5th-year quarterback set his eyes on the Florida State program. It was clear that this season was going to be a season of new faces for the Florida State program. During the ACC media days, though, they were predicted to win the ACC and were good enough to be ranked 10th in the country in the preseason AP polls. While their schedule had some potential tough matchups, including Clemson, a newly revamped Miami, and Notre Dame, nobody expected that their first major setback of the season would happen so soon. Florida State kicked off their 2024 college football season playing in Dublin, Ireland against conference opponents Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech was coming off their best season since 2018 with a record of 7-8 under their new head coach Brent Key. This was a game Florida State simply just had to show up and they'd clearly win, right?
44 yards away to do it. He got it! And the Yellow Jackets did it! Upset in hand. They found themselves a pot of gold at the end of their Irish rainbow.
And just like that, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets upset the number 10 team in the country 24-21. It was clear throughout the game that Florida State had some glaring flaws in their team. The offense would look spotty at times, stalling out during key moments in the game. The biggest issue of them all was their defense's inability to stop the run. Georgia Tech rushed for 190 yards against the Seminoles, and quarterback Haynes King and running back Jamal Haynes had a field day. Now, a Week 1 loss isn't always the end of the road for a team trying to make the college football playoffs. Florida State had their work cut out for them, but still had a clear path if they wanted it. But after dropping to 0-3 after losses to Boston College and Memphis, it was clear that their playoff hopes were done. Through the first 3 weeks, DJ Uwangalele struggled immensely with underwhelming passing stats and less touchdown passes thrown than interceptions. That paired with a defense who allowed 518 total rushing yards and an average of 172 rushing yards per game, this was going to be a year to forget for the program. Week 4 was the best week that we had seen out of Florida State so far, as they beat an undefeated Cal team 14-9. While many thought this would be the turning point to the season, nobody knew that things would go from bad to worse.
The Ira front row on your right.
How is DJ health-wise, and how did Brock look when he was out there to you, and what's going to go into the decision-making process this week?
Obviously, yeah. I mean, DJ is something we're going to evaluate throughout the course of the week. And kind of go see where it goes from there. And
late in their 42-16 loss to new ACC program SMU, DJ Uiagalelei went down with a broken finger on his throwing hand. This injury forced him to have season-ending surgery, with the Seminoles now 1-4 on the season without their starting quarterback. The injury forced Mike Norvell to call on true freshman Brock Glenn to lead the team into their toughest matchups in the season, including Clemson, Miami, and Notre Dame. Unfortunately for the young quarterback, the team lost their next 5 straight games, and in that time, he threw for a meager 561 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. The defense wasn't any better either, allowing over 200 rushing yards in 4 out of the 5 games during this stretch. After their 52-3 loss to Notre Dame, the program let go of offensive coordinator Alex Atkins, defensive coordinator Adam Fuller, and wide receiver coach Ron Dugans. With these coaching changes, it showed that Norvell was not going to put up with a coaching staff capable of allowing this disappointing of a season. In Week 12, the Seminoles finally got back in the win column, posting a 41-7 victory over FCS opponent Charleston Southern. But with no hope of a bowl berth, they end the season with a defeat to DJ Lagway and in-state rivals Florida 31-11. And now, for the second time since Norvell took over the program in 2020, the Florida State Seminoles posted a season winning 3 or less games in a season. For reference, the last time Florida State won 3 or less games in a season before Mike Norvell took over was all the way back in 1975, when the program was still an independent. When looking at the 2024 Florida State team, the biggest question is what went wrong. Many people could argue it's the fact that DJ Uiagalelei was very disappointing prior to his season-ending injury, and Brock Glenn was not the talent that they thought he would be as a true freshman. But for me, the biggest point had to have been the lack of run defense for Florida State. They constantly allowed 200-plus rushing yards almost every single game this season, and without a top defense, it's hard to win games, especially in a conference like the ACC. I look at a team like Iowa from 2023, who had one of the worst offenses in college football history, and they were still able to make it to the Big Ten title game because of how powerful their defense is. I think that this should also serve a warning to certain programs that the transfer portal necessarily won't fix all of your problems. You can have a lot of gaps that won't be fixed just by going into the portal. Recruiting and developing your talent ultimately will still be the most important thing in a season. But let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think was the biggest reason that Florida State failed this season? Where do you think the program will be at the end of next season? If you like content like this, make sure to like and subscribe.